On the edge of the Andromeda expanse where stars burned low and cold, the galaxy had already written humanity's end. The Great Alliance known as the Concord had declared Earth lost centuries ago. No signals came from Sol system. No ships left its borders. No voices called through the void. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were gone. Extinct like so many others who burned bright and fast, then vanished into silence. But deep in the ruins of New Kyoto, a woman moved. Her name was Lena. She was lean and sharp like a blade left too long in the rain. Her clothes were patched from old ship fabric and her boots were worn through at the heel. On her back she carried a rifle older than most cities, but it still fired true. Around her neck hung a cracked neural shard that glowed faintly blue when she was near something important. She did not speak much. There was no one left to talk to. At her side walked Vera. Vera was small for a dragon, about the size of a large wolf, but her presence filled the air like thunder before a storm. Her scales shimmered with colors that had no name, shifting from deep violet to silver, depending on the light. Strange glowing runes traced along her spine, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. She did not roar or snap. She watched. She listened. And sometimes she hummed low notes that made the broken glass in the streets vibrate. They had been together for as long as Lena could remember. She did not know where Vera came from or how they had met. All she knew was that the dragon had saved her life once, and since then, they had walked the dead world as one. New Kyoto had once been a city of towers and light. Now it was a forest of rust and shadow. Vines grew through shattered windows. Trees sprouted from subway tunnels. The wind carried dust and the ghost of old music. Lena moved through it all like she belonged there, as if the ruins recognized her as their last child. She was not searching for food or shelter. She was checking the beacons. Scattered across the planet were old defense nodes, silent machines buried beneath rubble and time. They were part of Earth's last line of protection, the orbital grid that once guarded against alien threats. Most thought it was destroyed in the final war, but Lena knew better. She had spent years waking them one by one using the neural shard and pieces of old code whispered to her in dreams. Today she stood before Beacon 7. It was half buried under a collapsed overpass. Rust covered its surface, but the core still held a faint charge. She knelt and pressed the shard against the access port. Vera sat nearby, her eyes fixed on the sky. A low hum rose from the ground. Lights flickered to life along the beacon's side. Then a voice, crackling and old, spoke through a broken speaker. Identity confirmed. Welcome back, Lena. She did not smile, but her shoulders relaxed just a little. Another node was awake. The grid was almost whole again. As she stood, a shadow passed over the sun. Not a cloud. Something larger. Vera's head snapped up. Her runes flared bright. A warning. Lena looked up too. High above the atmosphere, a ship hung silent and sleek. It was shaped like a teardrop made of polished crystal. No weapons visible. No markings. But she knew what it was. A Concord survey drone. They had found her. For years she had stayed hidden, moving only at night, keeping signals low. But the beacons had given her away. Each activation sent a tiny pulse into space, and now someone had noticed. The drone descended slowly, hovering just above the tallest ruin. It scanned the area with soft blue beams. Lena stayed still. Vera crouched low, her tail coiled tight. The drone hovered for a long time. Then it turned and flew away. Lena let out a breath she did not know she was holding. But Vera growled low in her throat. Not fear, warning, they would be back. And next time it would not be just a drone. That night Lena climbed to the top of the old observatory. The roof was gone, but the telescope still pointed at the stars. She sat with her back against the metal frame and watched the sky. Vera lay beside her, head resting on her paws. The stars were clear, cold, beautiful. Lena thought about the stories her grandmother used to tell. Stories of humans among the stars. Of ships that sailed between galaxies. Of wars fought not for land but for ideas. She had grown up believing those stories were true. Then the silence came. The great quiet. And everyone she knew disappeared. But she stayed. Because someone had to. And Vera stayed with her. As midnight passed, something changed. The air grew heavy. The wind stopped. Even the crickets fell silent. Then the neural shard around her neck began to glow. Not blue, but gold. Lena stood slowly. Vera rose with her eyes wide and bright. From the east, a second ship appeared, larger than the drone. This one had markings. Silver vines etched into its hull. It moved with grace, not speed. It circled once, then landed softly in the plaza below. A ramp lowered. A figure stepped out. Tall, slender, skin like moonlight, hair silver as starlight, eyes the color of frozen lakes. She wore a long coat that shimmered like water and carried no weapon, but her presence made the ground feel lighter. Lena did not move. Vera stepped in front of her just a little. The stranger looked up, her gaze locked with Lena's. There was no fear in her eyes, only surprise, and something deeper, pity. "You are human," the stranger said. Her voice was soft like wind through leaves. Lena said nothing. "We thought your kind was gone." The stranger continued. "All records say Earth fell 300 cycles ago." Lena finally spoke. Her voice was rough from disuse. "We didn't fall. We chose to hide." The stranger tilted her head. "Why?" Lena looked at Vera, then back at the stranger. "To protect what matters." The stranger studied her for a long moment. Then her eyes fell on Vera. Her breath caught. "That is not a pet," she whispered. Vera's runes pulsed once, bright and sharp. Lena stepped forward. "Her name is Vera, and she is the last of her kind. Just like I am." The stranger took a slow step back, not in fear but in awe. "I am Alara of Silthera, envoy of the conquered." Lena nodded. "You came to see if the rumors were true. I came because the drone saw a signal. A human signal. We did not believe it. Now you do." Alara looked around at the ruins, at the overgrown streets, at the broken towers. "You live here alone?" "Not alone," Lena said, glancing at Vera. Alara's eyes softened. "My people, we watched your species from afar. We saw your wars, your art, your fire. We pitied you. Your lives are so short, your pain so deep." Lena gave a small, bitter laugh. "You pitied us, but you never asked why we fought, or what we protected." Alara was silent. Then Lena turned and walked to the edge of the roof. She pointed to the sky. "See that star? Third from the left. That's Proxima. Used to have a human colony there. They sang to the stars every night. Not for show. To keep something asleep." Alara frowned. "What something?" Lena did not answer. Instead, she raised the neural shard. It glowed brighter, and from deep beneath the city a sound began to rise. Low, steady, powerful. The ground trembled. Lights flared across New Kyoto, not from power lines but from the beacons. All of them. Awake at once, high above the atmosphere, something stirred. Metal groaned in orbit. Ancient engines hummed to life. The orbital defense grid was online. Alara's eyes widened. "You control it?" "Not me," Lena said. "The song does." Vera lifted her head and let out a single note. Clear, pure, strong. The stars seemed to lean closer. Alara took another step back. Her pity was gone now, replaced by something new. Respect. Maybe even fear. "You are not what we thought," she said. Lena looked at her. "No, we never were." The wind picked up again. The crickets returned. The world breathed. But everything had changed. The Concord had come looking for ghosts. They found guardians instead, and the galaxy would never be the same. Alara stood in the plaza of New Kyoto, her silver coat catching the pale light of Earth's moon. She had come as an envoy of the Concord, a messenger of peace and order. But what she found was not peace. It was silence with teeth. Lena watched her from the observatory roof. Vera stayed close, her glowing runes dimming to a soft pulse. The dragon did not trust the elf, and Lena did not blame her. Ilara's people had watched humanity burn from afar, offering no help, only quiet judgment. Pity was not kindness. It was distance dressed as care. After a long moment, Alara spoke. "I must report this." Lena climbed down the broken stairs slowly. Her boots crunched on glass and stone. "Go ahead. Tell them you saw a ghost." "You are not a ghost," Alara said. "You are real, and you control weapons that could shatter fleets." "I don't control them," Lena said. "I wake them." There's a difference. They stood facing each other in the ruined square. The wind carried the scent of wet metal and old rain. Vera circled once, then sat between them, not as a barrier but as a witness. Alara studied the dragon. "What is she?" "She is Vera," Lena said simply. "And she is older than your cities. She does not look like any creature in our records." "Because your records are wrong," Lena replied. "You only wrote what you saw, not what was hidden." Ilara's eyes narrowed slightly, but not in anger, in thought. Her people, the Siltherans, were scholars, not warriors. They valued knowledge above all. Yet here was something they had missed entirely. A human alive on a dead world with a dragon that hummed like a star. "Why stay here?" Elara asked. "Why not leave when the others did?" Lena looked away toward the east where the ocean once touched the city. "We didn't all leave. Some stayed to guard. Some stayed because they had no choice. I stayed because someone had to remember." Remember what? Lena did not answer right away. Instead, she walked to a broken fountain in the center of the plaza. Moss grew over its edges. Water still trickled from a crack in the pipe. She knelt and touched the stone. "Come," she said. Elara hesitated, then followed. Vera rose and padded behind them, silent as shadow. Lena led them through narrow alleys overgrown with vines and rusted wires. They passed empty homes with doors hanging open, books scattered on floors as if people had simply walked away mid-sentence. Finally, they reached a sealed hatch half buried under rubble. Lena placed the neural shard on the lock. It beeped once. The hatch hissed open. "This is not in any map," Elara whispered. "It wasn't meant to be," Lena said. They descended a metal staircase into darkness. Vera's runes lit the way, casting soft violet light on the walls. The air grew cooler, deeper. At the bottom, they entered a chamber lined with glass tubes. Inside each tube floated a seed. Some glowed faintly. Others pulsed like hearts. "What are these?" Elara asked. "The last of Earth's life," Lena said. "Not just plants, memories, songs, dreams, everything we were. Stored in biocores. Kept alive by resonance." Resonance, Lena pointed to Vera. "She sings to them. Keeps them sleeping, but not dead. When the time is right, they will wake." Elara stepped closer to one tube. Inside, a tiny flower bloomed and faded in a loop. "You preserved your whole world in glass, not just ours," Lena said. "Others too. The ones who came before. The ones who will come after." Earth was never just for humans. Elara turned to her. "You are not just a survivor. You are a keeper." Lena nodded. "And Vera is the key." They stayed in the chamber for a long time. Elara asked questions. Lena answered some. Others she left in silence. Vera watched them both, her eyes calm but alert. When they returned to the surface, the sky was turning gray with dawn. Elara's ship still waited in the plaza, its ramp lowered like an open hand. "I cannot stay," Elara said. "The Concord will send others. More than just a survey drone." "I know," Lena said. "They will not understand what you are doing." "They never did." Elara looked at her. "Let me help," Lena raised an eyebrow. "Why, because I was wrong," Elara said. "I came here thinking I would find ruins and bones. Instead, I found purpose. And that is rare in the galaxy." Lena studied her face, saw no lie. "Only regret and something new. Curiosity. You can stay one day," Lena said. "But you do not touch anything. You do not record anything. You watch. You listen. Nothing more." Elara nodded. One day. That day passed slowly. Elara walked the ruins with Lena silent most of the time. She watched as Lena checked water filters, fed wild cats that lived in the subway tunnels, and sang softly to broken machines that still responded to her voice. Vera stayed near, always watching the sky. At noon, they sat on the roof of an old library. Elara pulled out a small device and placed it on the ground. It unfolded into a soft mat with food and water. "You eat?" Lena said, surprised. "Of course," Elara said. "We are not spirits, we bleed. We hunger." Lena took a piece of fruit. It was sweet and strange. "Where is this from?" Silthera, Elara said. "Grown under twin suns." They ate in silence for a while. Then Elara spoke. "My people believe life is a thread. Short but bright. We weave it into songs and stories so it does not vanish. But you tried to keep the whole cloth." "Not tried," Lena said. "Did. At great cost." Lena looked at her hands, scarred, calloused. "Yes." Why, Lena thought for a long time. Then she said, "Because someone had to care enough to stay." Elara did not reply, but her eyes grew wet. As evening fell, Vera led them to the edge of the city where the land dropped into a wide canyon. At the bottom ran a river, black with old oil but clear near the center. On the far side stood a stone arch covered in carvings. "What is that?" Elara asked. "The Gate of Echoes," Lena said. "It was built by the first ones. Before humans. Before your people. It listens. Listens to what? To truth." They crossed the river on a fallen beam. Vera flew ahead, her wings barely making a sound. At the arch, Lena placed her palm on the stone. It warmed under her touch. A low tone filled the air. Not loud, but deep enough to feel in the bones. Elara gasped. Images flashed in her mind, not pictures but feelings. Fear, hope, sacrifice, love, pain, all mixed together like colors in water. She fell to her knees. "What was that?" she whispered. "The memory of the planet," Lena said. "Earth remembers everything." Alara stayed there for a long time, breathing hard. When she stood, her face was changed, softer, older. "I understand now," she said. "Understand what? Why you stayed. Why you guard. Why you sing." Lena nodded. "Good." As night returned, Alara prepared to leave. She stood by her ship, looking back at the ruins. "I will tell them what I saw," she said. "They will not believe you." Lena said, "Maybe not, but I will try." Lena walked forward and handed her something small, a data chip wrapped in cloth. "If they listen, give them this. If they do not, destroy it." Alara took it. "What is it?" "The first song Vera ever sang to me. It holds the key to the grid, but only if the listener means no harm." Alara tucked it into her coat. "Thank you." Then she paused. "Will you be here when I return?" Lena looked at Vera. The dragon blinked slowly. "We will be here," Lena said. Alara stepped onto the ramp. The ship lifted silently into the sky. Within minutes it was gone. Lena stood in the plaza alone. Vera curled around her feet. "She will come back," Lena said. Vera hummed in agreement. The stars blinked above. The wind carried the scent of rain. Somewhere far away, the Concord debated what to do about the signal from Seoul. Some called it a glitch. Others called it a threat. None called it a miracle. But on Earth, the last human and her dragon waited. Because the song was not over. It had only just begun. Weeks passed. The sky stayed clear. No ships came. No signals broke the silence. Lena went about her work as before, checking the beacons, feeding the wild cats, tuning the old water purifiers. Vera walked with her, always her runes glowing soft in the dusk. But something had changed. Lena felt it in the air, in the way the wind moved, in the quiet hum of the neural shard. It was not peace. It was waiting. Then one morning the ground shook. Not from an earthquake, from deep below, from the core. Vera lifted her head and let out a long, low note. The sound rolled through the ruins like thunder. Birds fled the trees. Rats vanished into cracks. Lena ran to the observatory roof. She looked east. Smoke rose from the canyon where the Gate of Echoes stood. Not fire smoke. Silver mist. She grabbed her pack and ran. Vera flew above her wings, slicing the air. When they reached the canyon, the gate was open. Not broken. Open. The stone arch glowed with inner light. Carvings pulsed like veins. The river below ran clear and bright, as if washed clean in an instant. Lena stepped forward. The mist curled around her boots. Vera landed beside her tail, stiff with tension. Then a voice spoke. Not from the gate. From inside her head. "The time is near." Lena froze. She knew that voice. It was her grandmother's. But her grandmother had been dead for decades. "Who is there?" she whispered. "Not who." The voice said, "What? The memory. The song. The seed." Vera nudged her hand gently. Her eyes said go. Lena took a breath and walked through the arch. The world dissolved. She stood in a field of stars. Not above them. In them. Light flowed like water around her feet. Vera was beside her, but larger now, her wings stretching across galaxies. Before them floated a sphere of light. Inside it moved shapes. Cities, forests, oceans, faces. All of Earth. All of time. "This is the heart," the voice said. The core of the resonance. Lena reached out. Her fingers passed through the light. Memories flooded her, not hers. Everyone's. Every human who ever lived. Every choice. Every tear. Every laugh. She saw the first dragon rise from the sea. She saw humans learn to sing with them. She saw the great war against the void, the one no history recorded. She saw how they did not fight with guns but with harmony, how they wove a lullaby so strong it put the hunger of the dark to sleep. But the cost was high. Each singer aged fast. Their bodies burned out like candles. In the end, only a few remained, and they chose silence to guard the sleep. "You are the last singer," the voice said, "and Vera is the last key." Lena turned to Vera. The dragon looked at her with eyes full of sorrow and love. "I am not ready," Lena said. "You have always been ready," the voice replied. Then the vision faded. Lena stood again in the canyon. The gate was dark, the mist gone, but something new hummed in her chest, a song she had never heard but knew by heart. Vera licked her hand. Her runes now burned gold, not violet. Back in New Kyoto, Lena did not sleep. She went to the beacon chamber beneath the city. She placed her hands on the central console. The neural shard fused with her skin. Light spread up her arms. The beacons across the planet lit up at once, not blue. Gold. In orbit, the defense grid shifted, not into weapons, into speakers. Giant resonant dishes aimed at the stars. Lena began to sing, not with her voice, with her soul. Vera joined her. Their song rose through the earth, through the air, through space itself. Far away on Silthara, Alara sat in her chamber. She held the data chip Lena had given her. She had not played it. She was afraid. Then the song reached her. It poured into her mind not as sound but as feeling, as truth. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She saw everything. The sacrifice, the silence, the love hidden in the ruins. She knew then what she had to do. She ran to the High Council Hall, her silver coat torn from haste, her eyes wild with urgency. "You must listen," she cried. "Humanity is not gone. They are guarding us all." The council stared at her, some angry, some confused. "You have been corrupted by myth," said Elder Kale. "Humans were violent, short-lived creatures. They destroyed themselves." "No," Alara said. "They saved us. They sang the void to sleep. And they are still singing." She held up the chip. "Play this. Just once." They refused. But one young technician took it. Out of pity, or curiosity, he plugged it in. The song filled the hall. The council froze, their minds flooded with memory, with pain, with awe. When it ended, Elder Kale fell to his knees. "We were wrong." "Not just wrong," Alara said. "Blind." Meanwhile, on Earth, Lena stopped singing. She was weak, pale. Her hair had turned white at the temples. Vera lay beside her, breathing slow. The song had taken years from her life, but it had done its work. The Concord would know the truth now, but truth does not always bring peace. Days later, ships appeared in orbit. Not one, many sleek war vessels with dark hulls. They did not hail. They did not scan. They powered weapons. The Concord had split. Some believed Alara. Others called her a traitor. The War Council, led by Admiral Vork, had taken control. They saw the song not as a gift but as a weapon, and they would not let it fall into the wrong hands, even if it meant burning Earth again. Lena stood on the observatory roof. She watched the ships gather like vultures. Vera stood beside her, golden runes flaring. "They do not understand," Lena said. "They fear what they cannot control." Vera seemed to say with her eyes. Lena touched the neural shard. It was warm, alive. She knew what she had to do. She walked to the center of the plaza. Vera followed. Together they faced the sky. Lena closed her eyes. Vera lowered her head and they began the final lullaby. Not to fight, to awaken. The ground trembled. The beacons blazed. The orbital grid opened like a flower, and from hidden places across the planet lights rose. Not ships, people, humans, dozens of them. Old, young, scarred, silent, each with a dragon at their side, some small, some large, all glowing with the same golden light. They had been there all along, hidden in vaults and forests and deep caves, waiting for the song. Lena was not the last. She was the signal. The dragons lifted their heads and joined the song, a chorus of voices older than time. In orbit, the Concord ships fired, but their weapons failed. Not broken, refused. The lullaby had touched the metal, the circuits, the very atoms of their ships. Reality itself would not allow violence here. Admiral Vork stared at his dead controls. "What is this on the bridge of his flagship?" Alara stood. She had boarded it before it left Silthara. "It is mercy," she said, "something your kind forgot." Below on Earth, the song grew stronger. The sky turned gold, stars blinked in rhythm. The war was over before it began, not by force, by memory, by song. And in that moment, the galaxy changed forever. The silence after the song was deeper than any before, not empty, full, like the world was holding its breath. On Earth, the golden light faded slowly. The dragons lowered their heads. The humans who had emerged from hiding stood still in the ruins, their faces calm but tired. They had not fought. They had remembered, and that was enough. Lena stood in the center of New Kyoto. Her body ached. Her hands shook, but her eyes were clear. Farah leaned against her side, warm and steady. Above them, the Concorde fleet hung motionless, weapons dark, engines quiet. No orders came from the bridge of the lead ship. Admiral Vork sat in his command chair staring at the planet below as if seeing it for the first time. On that same ship, Alara stood near the viewport. She had not spoken since the song ended. She did not need to. The truth was inside every soul on board now. It could not be erased. Slowly, the fleet began to move. Not to attack. To retreat. One by one, the ships turned and drifted away from orbit. Only one remained, Alara's small envoy vessel. It descended gently and landed in the plaza. The ramp lowered. Alara stepped out alone. No armor, no weapon, just her silver coat and tired eyes. Lena walked to meet her. Farah followed a few steps behind. They stopped a few feet apart. "They are gone," Alara said. "For now," Lena replied. "The High Council is in chaos. Some want to honor you. Others call for your destruction. But no one can agree." "They never could," Lena said. Alara looked past her at the other humans and dragons standing among the ruins. "You were never alone." "We had to be," Lena said. "If the world knew we were still here, the void might have woken. Fear wakes it. War wakes it. Only peace keeps it sleeping, the void," Alara whispered. "It is real." "Yes," Lena said. "And it is hungry." They walked together through the city. Alara saw things she had missed before. Gardens growing in subway tunnels. Solar panels on broken rooftops. Children's drawings taped to rusted doors. Life had not ended here. It had changed. They reached the beacon chamber. Inside, the other humans waited. They did not speak much, but their eyes held centuries. One woman stepped forward. Her hair was white. Her skin lined like old paper. She wore a tunic stitched with star patterns. At her side stood a dragon with wings like stained glass. "I am May," she said. Her voice was soft but strong. "I was the first to stay." Alara bowed her head. "You protected us all without us knowing." "That was the point," May said. "If you knew, you would have come. You would have asked questions. You would have brought war. And war sings a different song." Vera moved closer to May's dragon. They touched noses. A low hum passed between them. Lena explained. "The dragons are not animals. They are living anchors. They hold the resonance in their bones. When they sing the lullaby, the void sleeps. But if they stop, or if they are hurt, it wakes," Alara finished. May nodded. "And when it wakes, it does not eat planets. It eats time, memory, hope. It leaves only silence that even stars cannot fill." Alara sat on a crate. Her hands trembled. "What do you need from us?" "Nothing," May said. "We need you to leave and tell your people the truth. Not as a warning, as a choice." A choice, yes," Lena said. "You can keep living as you have, building ships, making laws, fighting small wars over small things. Or you can learn to sing. Sing not with your voice," May said. "With your actions, with your choices. Peace is a song. Kindness is a note. Every time you choose not to hurt, you add to the lullaby." Alara looked at them, at the dragons, at the worn faces of the humans who had given everything to guard a sleep no one knew existed. "I will tell them," she said, "but they may not listen." "Then tell them again," May said. "And again, until they do." That night they gathered in the plaza. A fire burned in a metal drum. Not for warmth. For light. For memory. The humans shared food. Simple things: bread, dried fruit, tea brewed from rooftop herbs. The dragons lay in a circle around them, their runes casting soft light on the broken ground. Alara sat with Lena and May. "How long have you been here?" she asked May. "Since the last war," May said. 300 years. Maybe more. Time blurs when you live in silence. "Do you ever wish you had left?" May smiled. "Sometimes, but then I hear the wind through the ruins. And I remember why I stayed," Lena added. "We are not heroes. We are gardeners. We tend the silence so others can grow." Alara thought about her home, the towers of Silthera, the libraries full of knowledge but empty of sacrifice. Her people had recorded everything but understood nothing. "What will happen now?" she asked. "The Concorde will fall," May said. "It was built on fear dressed as order. Now the truth is out. Some will break. Some will change. And we stay," Lena said, "until the song is no longer needed." "Will it ever not be needed?" Vera lifted her head and looked at the stars. Her golden runes pulsed once. "Maybe," Lena said, "if enough people learn to sing." The next morning, Alara prepared to leave. The humans gave her small gifts. A seed from the biocores, a piece of carved stone, a recording of the lullaby played on a wooden flute. May handed her a book. Its cover was worn, its pages filled with handwritten notes. Our story, May said. Not for history. For hearts. Alara took it carefully. Thank you. Lena walked her to the ship. Farah followed. You will come back, Lena said. Not a question. Yes, Alara said. As often as I can. Bring no soldiers. No scientists. Only those who listen. I will. Alara stepped onto the ramp. She turned one last time. What should I call you all? Lena looked at May. At the others. At Vera. Call us the Keepers, she said. The ship rose into the sky. Lena watched until it vanished among the stars. Then she turned back to the ruins. The work was not done. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to shift. News of Earth spread. Not as a threat, as a mystery. Some called it a lie. Others called it a miracle. But more and more ships came, not to fight, to listen. They stayed in orbit. They played the lullaby. They felt the truth. On Silthera, Alara spoke before the Broken Council. She read from May's book. She played the flute. She showed the seed. Slowly, minds changed. New groups formed. Not armies, circles of listeners, of singers, of those who chose peace not because it was easy but because it mattered. On Earth, the Keepers welcomed them, not with open arms, but with open silence. They taught them to hear the wind, to read the stars, to understand that guarding is not weakness, it is love made strong. Lena stood one evening on the observatory roof. Vera beside her. The sky was full of ships, but none cast shadows. They are learning, Lena said. Vera hummed softly. Far away in the void, something stirred, not awake, just turning in its sleep. But the song grew stronger every day, and the Keepers stood ready. Years passed. The ruins of Earth did not stay ruins. Green returned. Trees grew through cracked streets. Rivers ran clean. And among the old bones of cities, new life rose, not just human but shared. The Keepers no longer hid. They walked openly with their dragons through fields and forests. Children from other worlds came to learn, not to fight, to listen. They sat in circles under open skies and learned the first note of the lullaby, the note of stillness. Lena was older now, her hair fully white, her steps slower, but her eyes held the same fire. Vera stayed with her always. Her golden runes now glowed even in daylight. She was no longer just a dragon. She was a teacher, a guide, a living memory. Alara came often. She had left the Conquered long ago. It had broken into many small groups. Some still clung to old ways, but others formed the Pact of Echoes, a new promise among stars. Not to rule, but to remember. To protect silence as fiercely as others protected borders. She brought news from across the galaxy. On Silthera, they planted earth seeds. On Kalos, they built schools where children learned to sing before they learned to speak. On the ice moons of Virel, they held quiet nights where no machines ran, only voices and wind. Humanity was not gone. It was everywhere, in every choice to wait instead of strike, in every hand that helped instead of took, in every song that calmed instead of called to war. One spring morning, Lena stood at the edge of New Kyoto. The city was alive again, not with towers and lights, with gardens and laughter. Humans and visitors worked side by side. Dragons curled in sunlit plazas, their hums blending with birdsong. Mara, a young girl from the outer rim, ran up to her, her eyes wide with excitement. Lena, the resonance flower bloomed. Lena smiled. Show me. They walked to the biochamber beneath the city. The glass tube still held Earth's memories, but now new ones lined the walls, seeds from 100 worlds. And in the center stood a single plant with silver petals that glowed when touched by song. Mara reached out. The flower pulsed gently. It only blooms when the lullaby is strong, Lena said. Does that mean the void is sleeping deeper? Lena looked at Vera. The dragon blinked slowly. It means we are not alone in the song anymore, Lena said. That evening, a ship landed in the plaza. Not Alara's, a new one, shaped like a leaf, its hull made of living wood. A young man stepped out, his skin dark, his eyes bright with awe. He carried no weapon, only a small flute. I come from the 7th ring, he said. We heard the song. We want to learn, Lena nodded. You are welcome, he stayed. Others came. The circle grew. But not all was peace. Far beyond the known stars, a shadow moved. Not the void. Something else. A group that had refused the pact. They called themselves the Pure. They believed silence was weakness, that only strength through force could save the galaxy. They gathered ships, old war machines. They spoke of cleansing, of order, of ending the dream of Earth. When word reached Lena, she did not panic. She sat with May and Alara under the old observatory. They will come, May said. They do not understand, Alara said. They do not need to, Lena said. They only need to hear. What if they do not listen? Then the song will be louder, Vera seemed to say with her eyes. The day the Pure arrived, their fleet filled the sky. Black ships with sharp edges, no lights, no signals, only threat. They sent a message, simple, cold. Surrender the resonance or be erased. Lena stood in the plaza. The keepers gathered around her. Dragons at their sides. Visitors from many worlds stood with them. Not to fight, to witness. Lena did not speak to the fleet. She turned to the people. Today we do not hide, she said. Today we sing. They formed a circle, humans, elves, Kalins, Virilians, all holding hands. The dragons stepped into the center. Vera raised her head and they began the lullaby. Not soft, not hidden, full, clear, strong. The sound rose from the planet not as noise but as light. Golden waves rolled through the air. The ruins glowed. The trees hummed. The very ground sang. In orbit the Pure ships shook. Not from weapons, from truth. Pilots dropped their controls. Tears filled their eyes. They saw what they had forgotten, that strength is not in breaking but in holding, that peace is not empty but full. Their leader. A hard man named Torin stood on his bridge. He raised his hand to fire. Then he heard his daughter's voice in the song. She had died years ago in a border war he started. He fell to his knees. The fleet powered down. One by one, ships landed, not as enemies, as seekers. Torin walked alone into the plaza, his face wet with tears. Teach me, he said. Lena took his hand. The first note is silence. After that, the pact of echoes grew beyond stars. Not as a government, as a promise. Every world that joined planted a resonance flower. Every child learned the lullaby. Lena knew her time was near. The song had taken much from her. But she did not fear. One night she sat on the observatory roof, Vera beside her. The sky was full of light, not from ships, but from stars finally seen clearly. Alara sat with her. What will you do now? Fly, Lena said. Vera stood. Her wings spread wide. They shimmered with all the colors of memory. Lena climbed onto her back, not with effort. With grace, they rose into the sky, higher than clouds, higher than orbit, into the deep black where stars are born. From below, the people watched. They did not cry. They sang. Lena and Vera flew past moons, past rings, past dying suns. They visited worlds where the lullaby was new. They listened. They guided. They reminded. They became more than human, more than dragon. They became story, light, echo. Statues were not built of stone. They were made of starlight, projected by dragon song across empty space. Travelers would see them and remember. On Earth, May tended the garden. Mara taught the children. Alara wrote the new histories, and in every quiet moment when someone chose kindness over anger, the song grew stronger. The void slept deeper. The galaxy healed. They had pitied the human race once, called them short-lived, violent, foolish. But in the end, it was humanity's quiet courage, their stubborn love, their choice to stay in guard that saved everything. And so they were not forgotten. They were immortalized, not in books, but in every piece that followed, in every child who chose to listen, in every dragon who still hums beneath the stars.